Hello and welcome to Machine Embroider Your Life from American Quilter Society and Eversewn. We're making 9 embroidery projects all on the Sparrow X. This time we're making a table runner. We're going to do it in 2 parts. You can find a link in the description to the written instructions and to part 2 of this video. Let's take a look at what we need to make this. For part 1, we're going to need the following supplies: our craft spray based, our 120 by 180 millimeter embroidery hoop, a 1/4 yard of print fabric and a 1/4 yard of solid fabric, scrap paper, either medium tearaway or medium cutaway stabilizer, a couple pairs of scissors, and a seam ripper is always handy, a couple different marking tools, a ruler, and of course I have the Everstone Pro App loaded on my smart device. This is the table runner we're making. You see I've got my solid in the center and my print out in the borders. We're going to be doing 3 different embroidery motifs on our solid fabric, and then doing some quilt as you go to complete the table runner. So to begin, I have my solid fabric and I'm going to lay it out so that whenever I take my embroidery hoop, I see that I'm going to be able to completely hoop it, and I'm going to have room on the ends for any excess. So instead of trimming it and then embroidering and then all of my things being too small, we're going to embroider it while it's still a whole cloth and then trim it down to size later. So I'll move that out of the way, and I'm going to mark out my center. And because I don't have any of the sides cut, I'm going to look at the grain of the fabric, so the way it's woven, and find my center doing that. And then I'm using a chalk liner, and I'm going to run it right down that center through the short way. And then I'm going to similarly do that for the long way. With the fabric all marked, I'm going to stabilize it so that we can start our first stitch out. So I'm turning my fabric over to the back, and I've got a piece of medium tearaway stabilizer. You can also use cutaway if you have a really dense stitch design. And I'm taking some of my craft spray paste, and I'm just going to do a little shot in the center. And then I'm going to center this over the center of my piece of fabric. Press it in and let the adhesive dry. Once that's dry, I'm going to turn it back over. Now I've got my embroidery hoop. I'm going to take the inner hoop, and it has the center points marked, and I'm able to lay it over the fabric and line that up to the center marks we made, and that's going to correctly place it for our first stitch out. And then I'm going to take my outer hoop, I've got the nut loosened, and I'm going to place it under everything. So I've got outer hoop, stabilizer, and fabric with the inner hoop on top. And I can start lining everything up, and then press the inner hoop in. Once I have the inner hoop pressed in, I can close the clamp and tighten down the nut. And then I can tighten up just the stabilizer a little bit and get my hoop all happy in there. And with that done, I'm ready to install the hoop in the machine, and then we're going to move to our smart device to start on the design. I've opened up the Everstone Pro app, and we're going to load our very first pattern. So I'm clicking the Patterns tab, and then the one I want today is in the Motifs file. So I'm clicking that, and it's this beautiful mandala shape down here. It's taking me to the information page and it shows me the size, how many threads are in it. All that looks good, so I'm going to send it over into the editing tab. And then I want to turn on a basting stitch for this. This is going to help stabilize it as we stitch. So I've turned on the basting stitch down the sliding menu at the bottom, and then I will hit the machine in the upper right corner to send it to the machine for stitching. I've hooped a bit of scrap paper. I'm going to install the hoop in the machine, and then we're going to go to our smart device one more time, set our design, and get to stitch in our placement guide. I'm back in the Everstone Pro App, and I'm going to be making the placement guide with a second pattern. So I'm going to click the Patterns tab, and then it's in the motifs file. And I'm going to scroll down, and it's this really cute little pointed shape down here. It's taking me to the information page. It's got size, stitch number, lots of good information. It all looks nice, so I'm going to hit that pencil up in the upper right corner to send it to the editing tab. All right, I'm in the editing screen, and it's got it centered. I'm making sure that basting stitch is on, again, just to help stabilize. And with that set, I'm going to hit the machine in the upper right corner to send it to the machine for stitch out. Okay, now we're good. You can go back. So here's the placement guide I made earlier. And whenever you've got it in the hoop, you're just going to mark around it and cut it out. So I've done that here. And I've taken so that the edges of that placement stitch area are perfectly aligned. And then I've marked out the center points. That's just one more way that I can really help make sure that my placement is really good. Now with my placement guide, I'm going to grab my center panel again and we'll get to placing it. Here I have a center panel that I have only one design left to stitch on. So I'm going to show you how to place those outer designs. I've decided how far apart I want the center design and the outer design to be from each other. And for this one, I've done 1.5 inches. So with my ruler, I'm going to measure from the edge of the center design out to 1.5. I'm making sure that that center line is perfectly straight. With my placement guide, I'm going to fold back the edge, and then I see that where that center line is, I'm able to line that up, butt it up right against the edge of the ruler. Check my alignment on everything, and that looks nice. Move that away. And while I hold it with one hand, I can pin with the other. With my placement guide in place, I'm able to flip it over, take a piece of my stabilizer, use some spray base just to get that center sticky again. And I place that over where my pins are. I know that's the area I'm going to be stitching. And place that, let that adhesive dry. Flip it back over to the front, and then we're going to bring in our embroidery hoop and hoop it. Before I hoop this, I wanted to show you, you can see that we're going to be hooping over that center design. I've already done it earlier and I know it doesn't hurt it, but if you're worried about that at all with yours, just space it farther apart so that you don't end up hooping the center design. So with that all set, I'm going to bring in my inner hoop, and I really love to put a little bit of double-sided sticky tape on the hoop. This is just going to help me as I place it, hold it in place. It's my new favorite thing that I found with machine embroidery. So as I set that on there, I've got my front all lined like I want. Then I'm going to bring the outer hoop under all of it. I've got it very loose because I'm putting several layers through the hoop. And I'm going to start aligning everything and then press the inner hoop in. And look how easy that was with that little bit of tape holding it in place. So then I can clamp it, tighten everything, and get it all happy in its hoop. Once I have the hoop like I want, I can take the pins out of the placement guide and pull that away. And there I can make any last little adjustments I need. You don't want to pull on the fabric very much, but if there are any wrinkles you're really worried about, you can go ahead and ease them out. All right, my alignment looks really good, so I'm ready to install the hoop in the machine and get to stitching. I've got the Everstone Pro app going, and I have my design set returned all the way to the beginning with the basting stitch. So with that set, I'm going to start stitching on the machine. Now that I have one side stitched, I'm going to go ahead and remove the basting stitch. I like to do that with a seam ripper from the back while it's still hooped. I can just snip at those corners and pull it right out. And with the basting stitch out, I can go ahead and unhoop. And because I used tear away, I'm going to tear mine away. But if you use cut away, just trim now. I repeat that placement process for the other side. Once you have those all done, we're ready to trim our center panel. Now measuring from those center lines, I'm lining up my ruler and I'm going to cut my end pieces first. I've got that all lined up like I want. So I'll do one end, flip it around and do the other. And this is a point where you can customize it a little bit. Decide what length you want it to be. Mine's going to be about 20 inches unfinished. There we go. With the ends cut, I'm going to now turn and do the sides. The same process, lining those up. For my width, I'm going for 7 inches. And then one last time on the other side. With my center all cut out, I'm going to cut out my border print strips. I went with 3.5 inch strips for mine, and I've got 2 for the long sides and 2 for the short ends. And with that step done, we are concluding part 1 of the table runner. Come back next time when we finish up the project, and stick around for a special message about the Sparrow X. A special thanks to our sponsor, Eversewn. I'm having so much fun making projects with my Eversewn Sparrow X. If you'd like to get to know the machine a little better, you can download the Everstone Pro App right now. You can find it in the App Store or Google Play Store. And to learn more about the machine, check out the link in the description below for a walkthrough video. Thanks for watching.